All right. Hey, doing a little rehab here myself. What we're going to be talking about, we've already kind of gone over what are the good numbers for cap rate, cash on cash, debt service coverage ratio, all those kind of things. But we're going to show you a typical kind of deal that you come into. It's nice when you can find that the numbers that you get back are all at the very top of like they were put together, all the numbers were put together by your fairy godmother, if you know what I mean. So that's going to be wonderful. But there's other factors that we want to look at when we look at the numbers. One, what is it going to look at like down the road? Well, people don't often get into that very much. We're going to. I'm going to show you how you can look at numbers down the road and make some intelligent decisions there based on, now it's all, in a sense, analysis, guesswork, whatever you want to call it. You have to estimate what your return is going to be, how much your rents are going to improve, increase, whatever, all of that kind of stuff. We'll get into that. But I'm going to just show you a typical deal that you might run into here. And when I say typical, I'm changing what's going to be typical a little bit. You'll notice here we got a purchase offer price of 190,000, and we're expecting to be able to do $10,000 worth of uh, repairs and include it in the mortgage. Uh, that's very nice if you're if you're very seriously related to the bank president or whatever, or you have there's some reason and there's always things that happen that are wonderful, and there's things that can, be a bit of a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this. I'm throwing this in the 10,000 in the mortgage repairs included in the total. Here's the problem that we have with putting together deals is it takes to pay for repairs and stuff like that when you buy the property. That takes ready money, cash, real money. I've trained well over 1,000 people. I've dealt with people that have real serious wealth, but do they have cash, ready money? In almost every single case, they do not. Cash is a very, very difficult thing for people to have available because they do something with it. If you've got the cash, you're going to invest it, you're going to spend it, you're going to do something with it. Let's assume for the sake of argument that we got this deal. It's going to cost us $200,000. We're going to anticipate that we can increase our rents by about 3% a year. Now, there's places where that can easily happen. So we'll talk about that. Pretty much when you're working with bankers, most of the time, they're going to want 20% down. I bought a deal in Florida. I bought it with 5% down. Pretty amazing. And I bought it from a bank called Washington Mutual. Well, they're no longer around. They did those kind of deals, and a lot of them, I guess, not mine, but a lot of them went south on them. And so they ended up becoming a part, if memory serves, of Wells Fargo. So that's what happened to Washington Mutual. That's what happens to a lot of banks that are really nice to you. And it's sad that we can't have banks be nice to us and we make money and they make money. But that's not happening very often. We're going to talk to you about how you can make it happen more often. That's really going to be one of the things you're going to want to focus on. All right, let's suppose that our annual rent rolls are $28,800. If you take those rents and divide them by 12, you're going to come up with about, I think it's 2,000. 400. There's that 1% rule we talked about where you want to collect 1%. And in this case, if you're paying $200,000 for the property, you want $2,000 a month in rent roll. Well, we're looking at $2,400. All right, that's good. We like that. Vacant rent loss, we're going to figure that around $2,304 for the year. And so our gross rents are going to be 28,400 or 26,000, my bad, $26,496. All right. Now, if you're managing it yourself, most people don't figure a management rent fee if they do it themselves, but they jolly well should. They should be paying themselves for the work that they're doing. I mean, it doesn't make sense any other way, but very few people do. All right. Maintenance, we're going to look at a 5% maintenance. If this is a very new property, or if we're going to put 10,000 in it and bring it up to really in super shape, well, then that could be okay. But sometimes it could, if you need to put a new roof on or you need to put in a new furnace and air conditioner or something like that, it can cost you a chunk of change. All right. Vacancy is a percent of rents. We have that 8% is going to get you this 2304 number. All right. Anticipated rent increase, we talked about that earlier, of 3%. That will give us a net operating income of $10,760.40. We're going to have an annual debt service of $9,501.53. So we bring in $10,007. We've got to pay a mortgage of $9,501. When you're playing it that close to the line, all right, where there's not a lot of extra money left over from your rents to pay your debt service, pay your mortgage, you want to look at what your financial situation is. And you have to have them. And when it comes time to pay the mortgage, when you have to pay your mortgage, you got to have that money. You're not going to be very big time in the rental business if you start missing payments aren't there on time, because that's what they're looking for. And it's going to be a matter of record whether you paid it or not. So you may get one deal done, but you aren't going to be able to get any more. And it's not going to banks don't have much sense of humor. So you don't have to miss very many payments in a row, and they're foreclosing on you, if that's the good word. All right. So these are the numbers here that the banks and everybody looks at. We'll start at the bottom in this case. Debt service coverage ratio. What they're really looking for, it's a nice number, is to have at least $1.25 coming in cash for the mortgage, for $1 worth of mortgage. So in this case, we only have 13 cents extra for every dollar of cash that we have to have. So it's a little bit tight there. But as time goes down the road, I'm going to show you, it doesn't take very long where that's not a problem at all. As the economy and you get inflation and all that sort of stuff, that works in your favor in a lot of these deals. Okay. Cash on cash, that number is not dealing a bit with anything except what is, like you bought the property and paid cash for it. And they're looking, an ideal number would be between 8 and 12%. Anything over 5% is considered potentially good. 3.15 is not considered to be a great number. All right. Your cap rate here is 5.38%. And I'm going to take you to the book so I can show you. Because what I'm really trying to accomplish here, folks, is to sell the book. And what I'm going to do at the end of this presentation, I'm going to allow you to get this form that I have here that to help you with your rents right here to determine whether or not it's a good property to invest in. I'll give you that. You can have that. All you got to do is, and I'll tell you what else. The book is going to sell for $99 when we're done. I'm going to give you a chance to have it for $29.95, and you don't have to put any money up right now. Just download this, give me your information so I can get back with you when the book is finished, when I'm finished writing it, which won't take me that long, believe me. Almost there already. Okay. What's a good cap rate? All right. Cap rate between 5 and 10% is considered good. Well, where were we? Let's take a look. In this particular number, our cap rate was 5.38%. So the cap rate's not the problem. The cash on cash may be a little bit of a problem. The debt service coverage ratio, we're not making the numbers they want us to have. And you wouldn't want to get into a deal like this without having cash reserves. You really have to have money ready so that you can, make it happen. What happens if your tenant, doesn't make their payments? What happens if they, mess up the property and leave in the night, in the dark of the night? Well, it all happens. It does happen. Those things happen. You don't want them to happen. We'll talk later in part of the book. We'll explain how to be able to minimize dramatically any chance that that's going to happen to you, because there's no reason for it in almost every instance. All right, so what we're talking about, and the nice thing about this form, if you're confused about anything at all, let's take cap rate. Let's look at where does that come from. Well, C21, what is that number? Well, let's move this, get that out of here. Is that over here somewhere? All right, C21, what is it? Okay, get that out of here for now because we don't need that anymore. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at this. All right, so cap rate C21, where is the numbers? I keep getting more and more things in my way here. Okay, here we go. All right, there's 21 right here, 21. And C, that number is your net operating income. All right, we already talked about where that comes from up here. Your net operating income is your gross rents minus F12, which is your total expenses. So what does it cost me? What am I, how much am I bringing in? What am I have to pay out? That's it. Okay. So that's how you get your net operating income. Now, when you're looking for your cap rate, it's your net operating income divided by how much did the property go? What did you pay for your property here? $200,000. So that's how the cap rate is figured. All right. The same here, if I go to the debt service coverage ratio, that's pretty simple. That is, what do we have coming in cash, and what are we going to have to pay on the mortgage? So how much money is there? Well, in this case, it's $1.13 for every dollar that you owe. Obviously, you would like it to be $1.25 or more. It's not. Cash on cash, this is a tight deal cash-wise, all right? So that's, and it's even worse if you actually had to pay $10,000 cash money to repair the property before you bought it. All right? So, and this gives you all your numbers, your water and your sewer and your natural gas or heating oil or whatever you need for that, and your electricity. and your condo fees if you have condo fees. In Florida, you want to be careful for stuff like that because when I first started investing down there, uh, the agents weren't saying anything about that. They were telling me what a great deal it is and showing you the numbers and everything like that. And then when you buy it, you end up with condo fees that you got to pay. Excuse me. And so that wasn't a lot of fun. Or association dues. Association dues, I think, are better than condo fees. A condo fee, you don't really own the property at all. A lot of the ways, depending how the association fees work, but in many cases, you actually do own the property. You just have to pay the fees. All right. And that's a number. They have no sense of humor. Banks might have a little sense of humor, but these associations and condos and stuff like that, you better pay them when your money is due, or they'll take your property away from you in a New York minute, and they can do it for take a $200,000 property away from you because you're late on $3,143 and don't think they won't do it. Because a lot of them will. All right, over on this side of the ledger, I'm showing what happens, your down payment, in this case, 40,000s, uh, which may be wrong. It might have only been 20. I might have put, where did I get that number from? Let me see here. F3. Oh yeah, 20% of 200,000, that's 40,000. I try to look for deals where I only have to put 10% down. They're out there. You can find those. You can work with some banks. Banks, I see people that have money hand over fist. Everything is great. But try to finance 5 properties and see if you can pull it off. Boy, if you're a better man than I, Gunga Dan, if you could do it. All right, well, this shows your net operating income. This particular deal is a 2021 deal that we did in 2021. And you look at your numbers, what happens over time and how much money do you make? And so we have all the numbers in here, and it goes to our mortgage calculator to pull numbers down out of there to make sure we're talking about how much our pay down is on our mortgage and stuff like that. Now, you can look at this and you can see year after year. Let's go out about 8 years. Look at what happens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8. I want to make sure I'm doing this right. All right. This is it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's go here. And okay, so what we're going to do is see at that, what would we make if we sold the property, profit at closing, and that it appreciated at the rates that we're thinking it's going to appreciate. All right. Then you would make on this particular deal 87,000. All right. So you invest a $200,000 deal and you make 87,000 back on that in 8 years. Well, that's pretty good return on your money if that's what you're looking for. Now, can you do even better? I had a property that I sold. I put it on the market to try to sell it in March, first part of March in 2020. And all of a sudden, like, there are people looking at it, everything is going good for the first week or two. And then COVID hits. And if I could have sold it, I would have made some money. All right. But it wasn't going to sell. So my agent was also my property manager. So I said, well, Brenda, can you get me a tenant? Now, this was in Sun City Center, Florida. Let me explain. When you go out looking at properties and you want to know the areas that you're looking in, Sun City Center is probably the lowest cost retirement center in Florida. There are other retirement centers, okay? But that is probably the lowest cost one, where it costs you the least amount for your properties and the people that are going to come and deliver you food or whatever, that they're reasonable. Everything is really reasonably priced. Well, duh. There's going to be more people who want to rent than there are properties to rent. There's going to be more people who want to buy than there are properties available to buy. Now, here's what happened to me there, okay? I had two properties in Sun City Center that I owned for over a decade. One of them might have been a little less than a decade and I sold it. All right. But the other property I owned it for over a decade. In the whole time, the rent on that property, never in all those years I had different tenants, but I never got a late payment. They always paid on time. And there was even, this is kind of magic, but there was 1 month where my property manager ends up charging the tenant who's leaving for an extra month rent because they're going to stay an extra week. Charge them for the whole month. No problem. And they paid it. The other tenant wasn't able to come in until the middle of the month. Well, she charged them for the whole month also. So I got 2 months rent for 1 month of property, if you know what I'm saying. And so that's magic. You're not expect that to happen very often. When you have a good property manager, if they throw a hanging curveball, they're going to get good wood on it. Let's put it that way. And so that's a situation. But this particular form will help you to really do a good analysis before you invest in a property. Just like in this particular one, some of those numbers aren't really where you'd want them to be. Or are you able to live with that? Because if you are, if it's not a problem for you, you got one that you can get. Really, my experience, now if you're as wealthy as Rockefeller, that's a different story. But if you're trying to get into this business and stay in the business and enjoy the business and make money in the business, the secret is being able to get a deal done that that you're comfortable with. Like this particular deal, I'd be very comfortable with that. I don't have to worry. I have the cash that I would need in case if tenant left me or that happened or that or whatever else. All right. That's just, for me, I'm looking at a deal. Does this look like a good deal? Well, my deal that I did a deal back in 2007, I think or it might have been 2008. And I did it with Washington Mutual, and I did it for 5% down. Of course, Washington Mutual is very shortly thereafter, they're down for the count. They're out of business. That was just not a good decision for them. It was good for me, but it wasn't good for them. All right. Most of the time, I want to find deals. You're really looking for a long-term relationship. You want to deal with somebody that you can deal with for a long period of time, because that's where you get good relationships, and that's how you can make things work. My property manager that I had in Florida was just dynamic. She was great. And she was, kind of up there years-wise on the calendar when I started working with her, and even the more so when I left, and I think I ended up selling it in 2021. It was just a year later. And I couldn't sell it when COVID hit. But a year later, I sold it and made 100,000 more than I was trying to make the year before. So COVID, it was not an ill win for everyone. It was pretty good for me. And I, I probably got COVID, but it wasn't, I didn't have a problem with it. It just, I was sick for a little bit, a week or so, and got better. All right. So there you have it. This is available. I'm going to put this up as a video on YouTube. My site, my coaching site is, you can go online and find, what do they call it, your channel. My YouTube channel, you just type in Coach Ted Wood, Coach space, Ted space, Wood space, and it'll come up. If you do that in YouTube, you'll get my stuff. Will all be there, the stuff that I published and put up there. And I've had a number of students that did deals that were pretty cool. And so I interviewed them, showed pictures of their property, go over it. Those are up there as well, so you can take a look at those deals, and there you have it. But the book is going to sell for $99. But if I get you, all you got to do is say you're interested, download this, tell me you're going to be interested, you want to know, so I can get back with you when the book is ready. You don't have to buy it. You're just saying that you're planning to buy it at this point in time, and you can get it for $29. And there you have it. So that's where I'm at. All right. God bless you. I'm going to head them up and move them out. 3, 2, 1.